Blog Talk Radio. And so it came to pass that the first...
The verse, everything. Okay. Yeah. Doing that down south Brooklyn crank rock. Yeah. Say what, get up to the get down. Get that more, don't put that hit now. One thing him really be the shit now. Wonder if you gonna make another hit now. Did you hear how clear that bass sound? Make everybody else wanna get down. Say what, say bucket. Drink crank, that's all that I ever really do now. I got that vocab in me, and it makes me warm but friendly. But baby, if they cross me, really better hope that you lost me. Because betrayal is costly. It's murky, dirty, mossy. Let's take it down to the algae. Fungus, bacteria, and plankton. So ain't thinking, just drinking. It's stankin', wanking. Why I be banging in Franklin, unshackling minds and wanking. At them pigs that's eating ribs, strangling the block, just like the rock. Don't stop, make a hot body rock uptown. Get down to the town, fuck around when I come round, blasting round. Rappers know how I get down, bringing that down from Brooklyn sound. For my people in the pound, now you know how I get down, bringing that crank rock Brooklyn sound. Studio, stereo, radio, video, laptop, iPod, download, mainframe, maintain. We all in the same gang. When they all come, we all gon' have to gang bang. So it's all the same thing, the same thing. And that's how we do our thing. That's how we all man. I'm not a man saying. Get up to the get down. Get that more, don't put that hit now. No one thing him really be the shit now. Wonder if you're gonna make another hit now. Did you hear how clear that bass sound? Everybody else won't get down. Say what, get bucket, crank, bang, that's all that I ever really do now. Say what, get up to the get down. Get that more, don't put that hit now. No one thing him really be the shit now. Wonder if you're gonna make another hit now. Did you hear how clear that bass sound? Everybody else won't get down. Say what, get crank, bang, that's all that I ever really do now. When I say Alpha Omega, do that nigga wanna play Sega. And when you meet your maker, will you be able to take her? Deep breath and breathe. Believe and try to retreat. All the reasons that you chose not to be right and exact and just act racking on that day. Chose to go the other way. Hunting, scoping, contoting, loking. No hoping they illin', always illin'. They listen, it's they ego rappers. See they wicked, illin', feeling for they blood spilling. That's coming from them killing. But I am willing to trick these raps for my chillin'. So that we all be chillin'. Headlining with the army. That's what we have in common. My skin tone grinding. We're perturbing like a Brahmin, but I don't work no idol. I'm vital of the highest title, reptilian rival. I take your title, sacrifice it for a musical, for a musical viral. I'm viral to take my rhymes there. Devil only scared, those unprepared. Yeah, those not overwritten, those that just ain't getting, those that get in the way of they self when they come to betting. It don't matter 'cause we are get up to the get down, get up to the get up. Get it up, get up to the get down. Get that more, don't put that hit now. No, I think him really be the shit now. Wonder if you're gonna make another hit now. Did you hear how clear that bass sound? Make everybody else won't get down. Say what, get crank, bang, that's all that I ever really do now. Say what, get up to the get down. Get that more, don't put that hit now. No, I think him really be the shit now. Wonder if you're gonna make another hit now. Did you hear how clear that bass sound? Make everybody else won't get down. Say what, get crank, bang, that's all that I ever really do now. That's all that I ever really do now. Ever say what, get up to the get down. Get that more, don't put that hit now. Gonna talk that shit now.
Peace, Super Heru family. How y'all doing, man? I'm your host up here, the Duke of Cheers, giving you a shout-out, saying peace, broadcasting live from Miami, along with my co-host, I'm leading the Empress for 10,000 years, the Little Prince, Amor, as well as my brother, Sabra Assad, as well as all of you in the Super Heru family, as we've been extending and moving past whatever boundaries that this fictitious reality wants to set up for us. We've definitely reached and surpassed them. So now is the time for us to be able to start to reap the benefits. And one of the main benefits that we are in the process of reaping is the I told you so benefit when it comes to the deterioration of Western society in general. Those of us who have never really felt it or who realize how whack it was or is are now going through the motions where we're starting to see everything that we've been building on for the past, let's say, since the world changed in 2001. You know what I mean? Things are definitely switching up for the better in terms of our situation. Now, of course, it does not look that way to the powers that be, being that they have basically crippled themselves based on their own insistence upon doing embellishment and living a beast way of life by exploiting, raping, pillaging, killing, lying to the world in mass. That's not really our concern anymore. Our main concern is what are we going to do, who are we going to do it with, and what is the overall purpose of ourselves individually as well as a collective. You know what I mean? So we as original people talk about how we need to be seen and we need to work together and we need to be in each other's lives and all of that a lot. And I'm in agreement with that so long as the people who are in that agreement with you are conducive to the same energy that you are. We always have to remember that it's definitely, you know, at any given moment, you don't want to be in a situation where you wind up giving your trust to somebody and that trust is then betrayed. One of the worst things a human can do to another human in this reality is betrayal, man. And as somebody who's been betrayed before in life, I could tell you that shit is really, really not the spirit. You know what I mean? It's not what you want to experience or even feel. There's one on top of the thing right here. You know what I'm saying? It's a situation where we all, well, it's a situation where we all have to sometimes eat that bitter pill, you know what I mean, and accept the fact that what we thought we knew about this person or persons is no longer real. And in that, there's a certain degree of self-forgiveness that has to go down because there's a certain feeling of usury that goes down with that form of betrayal. You know what I mean? When you've given your essence or your heart or soul to something or somebody or a movement or a group or a man or a woman or a child or whatever else and you don't get what you thought you could get out of it, it can be very hard. However, part of that lesson, part of the harshness of that lesson is the fact that we as original people, or especially as so-called human beings, have to get to a point in our ascendancy that we realize that love has nothing to do with ownership. You know what I mean? And that love and ownership are actually two different things that have nothing to do with each other. One denotes selflessness, the other denotes control. You know what I mean? And anybody who's ever been in love for real knows that, you know, when you're really in it like that, there really is no control that you can have. You know, if somebody is in a relationship or in a so-called loving relationship and they're talking about, well, I have all the control in it or whatever, that person is not in a loving relationship. And that person is not in a romantic relationship either. That person is being handled. You know what I'm saying? And we have more handled or handlers and controllers in relationships. Handlers, controllers, and slaves. We have more experience with that right now than we do with people really being in love, people really being down for one another, people really accepting the fact that they don't want to be without each other. That type of love, you know, has been, again, misconstrued in this reality by people to believe that it's in some way related to a maladapted, outmoded form of love they refer to as agape love. And agape love, again, is another form of, it's a blind, meaning that it takes you into one thing thinking it's meaning one thing and it actually means something totally different. And essentially it's another form of exhibiting universal, let's say, homoerotic love to everyone else, which is why the Jesuits are so big and the Pope and them are so big on agape love, you understand? You got to kind of get to the point that whatever you see them dudes on, you got to do the opposite. You know what I mean? So if these dudes are saying that this thing is dope, then you already know that that's not the move for you. You know what I mean? Because the way that this thing works is the exact opposite. Everybody says the opposite of what it is they're building on or what it is they want to experience. So universally, as we deal with all of the different levels and myriad discussions that go into, what we go into every week, we definitely want to give a shout out and respect to all of the Super Heru family again, just because of the fact that it seems that the more I build with people who are participants in the show and stuff like that, and during the weeks and the emails and all of the letters and stuff that we get, it seems that we are generating a certain energy that is not anti, let's say, anything other than real. You know what I mean? And what I also want to commend for the fact is that, we have supported each other to the point that we are starting to see the collective mental energy and power that we have exhibited by consistently gathering every Monday, every other Friday, you know what I'm saying, to do this, that we are starting to see the effects of our power in the world and the things that we say on this show actually manifest in the world. Now, precognition, meaning to see things before they happen, is not necessarily like a superpower the way that it's put out there that is in the movies and stuff like that. Precognition is actually a basic form of intuition. It's just that everything that is intuitive in this society is taught and has been thwarted to negate, because everything that is taught to be intuitive is coming to you through an alternate form of intuition. See? So something that is altered, that may be intuitive in its beginning but has now been altered, cannot pass on any intuitive information. It can only pass on altered information that appears intuitive. And so this is the difference between, let's say, a reader giving a prediction and a computer being loaded into algorithms from the reader's mind or whatever, and that computer then giving prediction for whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? So at this auspicious time, we have gone through, since the beginning of this year, we've gone through a tsunami, we've gone through an earthquake, we've gone through a nuclear meltdown, we've gone through six assassinations of political figures in Washington, in the Washington area alone, and as well as God knows how many murders, rapes, killings, ritualistic, satanic killings, whatever you want to say. All of these things are such that we are to the point that everything that we have thought is really unreal is actually turning out to be very real. You know what I mean? And that's good, because it means then it means that we are now reaching the part in our own story, right? Our own evolutionary tale, that everything has become known, or most things that are unknown have become known to us. And in things becoming known, they are given. Because once you know something, you know it. And you can never unknow it unless you've been in a situation where you become amnesiac or whatever else. But in that, you always know what you know. So because knowing is the key component of the Aquarian age that we're in, which is really called the age of Heru, or what certain people in certain circles refer to as the Aeon of Horus, we are at the forefront of this awakening. Yet, the awakening as it's happening is actually putting more of us to sleep, because a lot of us are waking up to the point that we don't want another reality other than this one. And that's really okay. You know what I mean? Like, we have this thing in the black community where we feel like because we on some shit, like everybody should be on it. And that because we see what's going on police brutality-wise or whatever, and that all black people are in a sense affected by it, that all black people should care. But you know what I'm going to say? That's not true. You know what I'm saying? It can't be, because you have black people who can't wait to become police officers, who can't wait to become Army officers, who can't wait to be in a position to tell somebody what to do. Now, I understand the impetus and where that drive to be heard and be right comes from. However, instead of us doing something for ourselves like all the rest of these nationalities do, we're the only race that's not. And it is not a coincidence. It's not because we're lazy. It's not because of any of the material shit that niggas want to put out there as the reason as to why. I don't believe any of those reasons. I don't believe that when they put up a big poster in the middle of Midtown talking about that the worst place for this baby to be is inside of an African-American womb. This is what they wrote. They put this shit in a billboard. And then, of course, the little black baby that they show can have her own hair. It's not like she got like a perm or anything, and it's a straight Nazi-headed baby. And it's a giant billboard, and it says the worst place for this child to grow is in the womb of an African-American person. Now, of course, there's a slant, kind of like when they like to show the Biggest Loser, like when you become the loser, you become the winner. Like, why is it always a double entendre when it comes to this devil? Why is it always you have to decipher something before you can accept it? The higher realms are not like that. Things are what they are. If they want to appear something else, then they have to make the reality subject to that. We don't do that here. We just fall victim, and we just fall into the account of what everybody wants us to think is true, instead of knowing what the truth really is. You know? Now that this guy's birth certificate has been revealed, when I looked at it, because I looked at one of the original ones that they had maybe in 2000, right before he got elected, when we did the first lectures out here. We did a tape called The Truth About Barry, the Occult History of Obama. And in looking at the one that they just put out there, well, first of all, there's 3 different copies of it. And then the one they put out there was interesting because the country of origin on the certificate was Kenya. But at the time that the dude was a child, in terms of having a birth certificate like that, that place was not called Kenya yet. So the question is, if intelligence means smart, how is it that the intelligence people that's putting this stuff out there can miss little vital effects like that? Another thing that is going down is that there's been secret summits between this dude and the president of Iran. Because if you notice, they're not talking about nuking Iran no more. They ain't even really talking about Iran like that. They're talking about everybody else. There's a reason for that. We'll get into in a minute. But specifically, these meetings are progressing to such a degree that the United States, within the next couple of months, might be talking about how they're going to try to open up you're going to hear them talk about a dialogue with Iran, because the new shit is to play Iran against Russia. It's not to invade and destroy Iran anymore. It's to turn the Iranians against the Russians. That's the new shit. This foreign policy is dictated, again, through the Brzezinski connection, which, again, is your boy's main benefit, well, one of your boy's main program is, right before he went to Occidental University. So in the Brzezinski plan, the idea is to isolate China to the point where China can only subsist itself on Russia, which would then force Russia and China to fight. And while they're nuking and destroying each other, the United States and Britain would think that they'll be able to just rock and keep everybody else in the world stupid. Good plan, you know what I mean? If people didn't know, if it was at the time where people's pineal glands wasn't opening, if it was happening at a time when people like us didn't exist, that could work. But in us disseminating this, is making it that much harder for them to perpetuate their falsehood. So case in point, a couple months ago, this guy was on the Jon Stewart show. And Jon Stewart, whether people don't know it or not, people think he's Jewish because his last name is Leibowitz, but that don't really mean nothing. He's actually a Jesuit, a Jewish Jesuit. So in that, he represents a faction that is referred to as the United Religious Military and Masonic Orders of the United Religious Military and Masonic Orders of the Temple and of St. John of Jerusalem, Palestine, Rhodes, and Malta Freemasons. So these guys came out a couple of months ago, right around the time that the president did the Jon Stewart show, which then shows you the level of kowtowing the so-called president had to do to a damn comedian. I mean, think about it. What president in his right mind goes on a comedy show after he become president? You know what I'm saying? You got to do the nods. And it's not even so much as it's a comedy show, a political satire comedy show, in which that you're just on there to look stupid, which, is not really a stretch, but for the homie. But it's also at a situation where you wouldn't do something like that unless you didn't have to. And because we don't really look into where and who these people come from and work with, we forget that all of these people are interrelated, and all of these relationships go back for, a long time, or for as long as Western civilization has been in its primacy. So these guys, these new so-called Templars, as they want to be referred to, first came out because what they were going to do was pay down the debt and do everything before the so-called Black Dragon Society. You know what I'm saying? Which, again, is a universal Asian/Asiatic society of people who are melanated and non-melanated who are against the so-called New World Order thing. So by that given account and by the impetus or the energy that first created the Black Dragons, of course that goes back to us. So even though we may not be card-carrying members now, we are what they are fighting for, to a degree. Because all true esoteric and occult people understand the true science of what they refer to as the smooth ashlar really is. Ashlar is spelled A-S-H-L-A-R, which again is an alchemical thing that then goes back again to the Moors, because all of these symbols that you find in these grimoires and all of that were perfected and created during the 900 years of rule of us just in that one part of the planet that we refer to as Europe. Well, that they refer to as Europe, that we refer to as Europa. So, in that, you have all of these different people contributing financially to this onset of what are we going to do about the money? What are we going to do about the dollar? So, the United States, like I said, being that it's starting to rework its plan, is really looking at its advantages in perpetuating its society. Now, Western society, or let's say white supremacist society, Western society, functions on industrialization. Industrialization became the precursor to open the way for them to get enhanced technology. This enhanced technology then goes to artificial technology, and the artificial technology leads to artificial awareness. Now that we're in the phase of artificial awareness, there are what you refer to as people who go through different things. You have those of us that's going through what we call spiritual or melanin activation, or what I refer to as ascendancy protocols, meaning you understanding different aspects of yourself and you understanding more about yourself, not what it is in the detriment, but in more of a positive. Not so much in a comparison, but more in a direct, objective observation of oneself. This clarity is becoming more clear due to the etheric self attraction through the magnetic wave as it manifests through the Akashic record, a.k.a. sunlight, as well as the so-called moonlight that is reflecting this. So it used to be you had to live in a time for hundreds of years before you saw one eclipse. You done seen like 18 of them, you know what I mean, in like a year. You done seen like, I'm exaggerating, but I'm not at the same time. You're seeing huge, catastrophic, philosophical, symbolic events taking place on a material plane to such a frequency that we're almost becoming used to it. You're almost becoming used to hearing about tsunamis and earthquakes and all this shit every other day. You know, just like back in the days when we was growing up, it seemed like twins were very, very rare. Like I have two twin brothers, peace to them, you know. And prior to them, growing up, I didn't really know too many other twins like that. Excuse me. But now, based on the infertilization, as well as the hybridization of genetic material, as well as the copywriting of physical image. One thing you got to know, the TSA, when they put you through the intense super screen where it's like they see you naked and all of that, they say that they're not filing those pictures, but they're actually saving those pictures, and they're selling them to different alphabet gangs. And these alphabet gangs are sending these images out to be copyrighted. Now, it's impossible, let's say, to copyright a living person, but it's not impossible to copyright an image that is not copyrighted. But the thing is, you won't know because they're not telling anybody that they're doing this. They're lying to everyone and telling everybody that they're going, when really they're spreading these images amongst themselves and selling them, no doubt. The same way they do the birth certificate, the debts, credit card debts, and everything else. So, if anything, that should be a big bone of contention for everybody to start, you know, doing more inquiries into that. Because with these images, you don't know who's getting them, who has them. And these, again, are digital. These are all digital, so this is instantaneous. As soon as the shit is took, they sending it somewhere else. It's not like it stays there and they have to wait for a certain amount of images to store up and then they send them out to whatever agency or whatever. No, as soon as they come in, they sending them out. So do you know how many people fly in a day from different parts of the world who are going through the situation, who are having now themselves violated visually? Not to mention the groping, not to mention the open theft that these TSA agents and members of them are doing, stealing people's money, stealing people's property. However, the American people letting them do it. You know what I'm saying? Like, the level of apathy amongst us has reached such a disgusting level that whatever act, there's very few acts of malice that are done that people are actually standing up and, like, you know, trying to stop. But again, this shows the moral deterioration of the society. These people set out to morally bankrupt white America. However, this was so-called white America's karma for what it did to original America and what it continues to do. However, there are members of original America, you know what I mean, who are in full participation based upon the ancestral deeds and ancestral rights and ancestral agreements that they made with these beings to help them establish a foothold in this world. You know? And again, there are thousands of books on this. You know, you can get Ruins of Empire by Volney. You can get Anacalypsis 1 and 2, Gerald Massey. You could get Black Spark, White Fire. You can get Life of an American Slave, written by turncoat Frederick Douglass. You know what I mean? There's elements in that. If you know what he's saying and allegorically, Masonically, what he's meaning, you would understand. But we adopt the slave story, hook, line, and sinker, from the slave master. The Africans don't be talking about slavery like that. How come? They don't even want to bring it up. But when they do, it's always what? I forget the name of the port that they all used to sail from, allegedly. The point of no return. The gate of no return, excuse me. You know what I'm saying? Yet Africa and African nations have no gross export in the greater, let's say, European world. Most of those African regions and dictators and warlords and corporate heads and tribal leaders, all of these guys got accounts in Switzerland. They don't got accounts in their own country like that. All of these dudes go to Europe. Same way when we get to a point where we can make some money and we can move out the ghetto, when we move into the so-called middle-class neighborhood or around the white folks, is the same way these dudes, when they get enough money or whatever, they leave Africa and they go to Europe. Because they was allowed to speak different languages and stuff like that. We could do that here. However, the American preponderance is to speak English. You know what I mean? So there's a certain, because everybody in the world comes here, there's a certain xenophobic, unilateral view that people within the so-called United States foster, in which, in cases of the ghetto, they don't really leave. You know what I mean? They don't really leave the ghetto like that. You know, there's some people in the hood never been off the block. Still, 2011. Some people never been to Manhattan. You know what I mean? And there's a certain, it may sound crazy, but there's a certain power in that to me too, though. You know what I mean? That your environment is succinct enough for you to exist in a relatively small component of it. So it's limiting. However, you know, anything you apply yourself to over a greater period of time, you become master of. And this is what happened in terms of a lot of us growing up on the block. You're seeing a lot of the wild stuff that went or goes down, you know. However, all so-called pogroms, a.k.a. ghettos, have gone through that. So, essentially, the guy that you call a president, in terms of, he is what you refer to as a soft power asset. You know what I'm saying? So he is the twinning of, the literal twinning of the so-called political, financial, military, industrial complex. They twinned the concept of imperialism and brought it forth in the form of this guy. That's why you can have 43 presidents all be so-called Caucasian, and then all of a sudden this so-called white black dude pops up. You know what I'm saying? But in that, he is practicing a form of dualistic espionage in the sense that he is applying right-wing tactics by using left-wing cover. So he's looking or appears as a leftist or a progressive Democrat or a democratic socialist. However, he's really on the low a pure-blooded, blue-blooded asset of the same so-called scheme that he's working against. So it's all coming to a head in more ways than one. Another thing that's happening, a lot of these earth effects that are being channeled through the South Atlantic anomaly is also the effect of a huge gravitational force moving closer to the physical Earth. Now, if you go online, they hid the actual images of them, but if you go online and you check out type in massive space objects, you would type in C/2010 X1. Then you also would, under the same heading, if you want, after you see the image from that or whatever, you would do 2010 SO16. And then after you see the image from that, you would then type in massive space objects again and type in 2005 YU55, as well as G1.9. These are huge globular galactic clusters that are in motion, moving towards our sphere of influence in terms of where we are positioned in the Milky Way. And the movement of this, the same way when you jump in water and you're swimming forward, you're casting out waves or ripples that go throughout the rest of the water behind you, but it also can affect the water in front of you. You see what I'm saying? So the same thing is happening with these things moving closer to us, creating these substantial cosmic ripples that the Earth itself is feeling, because these things, the approaching of this matter is also awakening the Earth to its galactic cosmic sense again. Like you or us looking at the Earth as a finite thing is also representative of how the Earth was made to think of itself, being that we live in a symbiotic relationship. So whatever the physical Earth is exhibiting is also going to be exhibited within and without us. So us having a limited view of the world is also the world having a limited view of itself. However, now that we are exposing ourselves to this cosmic aspect of our galactic black history, the Earth is doing the same thing, because the part of the Earth where each one of us that's building on this right now, that is exhibiting this energy, is sending out those ripples that are also correspondent to the same ripples that are coming from this thing that is eventually approaching us, that are referred to as C/2010 X1 or /2010 SO16 and 2005 YU55. This whole thing is qualified as, has been made a part of Operation Bluebeam, according to the Department of Defense discussions. You can't always get like copies of that stuff because, of course, it's all classified, but I mean, it's their shit. However, you can find out some of the discussions and symposiums and conventions in which members of the defense community get together, and and in that you can then see the agenda. So one year, it may be about all of the venues and vendors and all of that be selling a certain type of handgun, but then another year it'd be all about, let's say, nuclear stuff, and then another year it'd be whatever, like superhuman weapons and stuff. So this year, you know what I mean, it was the fact that this globular cluster is coming through. This has also been confirmed by through the BBC, watching the BBC. They would talk the Russian FKA, which is their version of NASA. They have reports on it as well, and the physical effects that it's having in terms of affecting the tectonic plates and the strong and the soft matter at the substrata. You know, the same way you feel like if you eat something bad, you may start to feel a small pain in the pit of your stomach. It's the same way the earth will feel something coming that is within it that's coming from a different reality. And so the more closer this thing gets, the more conscious you get of what's really going on. So it's almost like we're, as a race, walking down the street in Western society, and it seems like there's this shadowy figure following us, and we're not sure if it's really happening, but the more we walk, the more we realize it's real, and then we start to run from it because we are under the illusion that this thing is going to be some form of alien or some type of monster that's there to destroy it. But really it may just be the version of yourself that you are now at the crossroads with and is about to meet, which is why most of the movies and stuff that's coming out, the literature, the entertainment, is all about bipolar disorder, all about multiple personality disorder, dissociative identity disorder, alternate identities, alter egos. All of this is vibrationally the energy of, the influence of not only this unknown thing coming closer, but also the planets that are probably feeling the effect of it more, like Eris, because Eris is at the outer aspect of the solar system's fallout than Pluto. But in that, it still affects Pluto the way, the moon affects the Earth, let's say. So Eris being closer to that is using that effect and then giving that effect to Pluto, and then Pluto is passing that effect on to everybody else. Which is why everything is so about, cloak and dagger, espionage, who's lying, who's cheating, who's gay, who's not, who's hot, who's cheating on their wife. All of these books, the new book coming out, exposing LL Cool J and Eddie Murphy and all of these people as transgender prostitute solicitors and all that. All of this is coming out now because it has to, in order to distract, first of all, but second of all, to dilute and to alter the vibrational single. 24 or 25th. So behind all of that too, there's another name for it. They call it Comet. If you type in Comet, ELENIN, Elenin, Comet Elenin. Interesting name. And when they wrote it in the article I found on it, EL was like bold, and then the rest of it was regular. So, they talking to you. So, yeah, so all of this is why, like I said, this guy who is really a right-wing guy who's using left-wing cover, used grass movements as a form to establish the left-wing cover, because part of his establishment came through William Ayers and the William Weather Underground, which was also a part of the Air America, CIA, Iran-Contra, Operation 40, which was a kill hit squad that established hit squads for presidents of the United States from that point on. Like, this was that type of shit. This is where all of that comes from. And this is why he's dealing with all of this. This is why he's got to be Reagan now. So he's gone from Lincoln, so he's gone from King. So look at the deterioration. He's gone from Malcolm, which was like, what? He's gone from Malcolm to King to Kennedy to Bobby Kennedy to Lincoln to Reagan. No, Carter, then Reagan. They won't compare him to Bush, though, even though that's his cousin, allegedly. But Reagan. So look at the deterioration, the trickle-down theory, the voodoo economics being played out through this husk who people refer to as the President of the United States. That person is not that person. That person who is whoever that person is when you're in front of that person. See? So there's the one that does the interviews. There's the one that doesn't do the interviews. There's the one that's there with the kids and the wife. There's the one that's not. There's the one that's ordering people. There's the one that's getting the Nobel Peace Prize. Then there's the one that's ordering niggas to kill them. See what I'm saying? It's hypocrisy. The overall hypocrisy of it all is established. So the agreement or the whole thing that happened with Jon Stewart was them using him, Stewart, as a means to give them money for when the Rothschild faction started to starve them out. This was based on an old agreement through Pope Clement V that was known as the Chinon Parchment. Now, the Chinon Parchment is kind of like the concordant of the Nazis and the Vatican and the Jews during 33. It was a secret agreement in which the Pope absolved Jacques de Molay and of heresy as well as the Templars, while during towards the end of what we refer to as the Inquisition. This did him absolving them of what Pope Innocent did to them, basically undid the temporal power of the overall popedom magically. So this allowed them now to be reborn as in their ritual. Osiris is reborn, and in that now they adopted the whole new name that I was talking about earlier, and the United Religious, Military, and Masonic Orders of Temple of St. John, Jerusalem, Palestine, Rhodes, and Malta Freemasonry. This is when they openly created the name for the Vatican, the Open Friendly Secret Society of the Vatican of Rome. And then this is when they allowed all of these dudes allegedly to load up 18 ships and sail from the point of La Rochelle in France on October 12, 1307. These are allegedly in American history referred to as the launching of the Nina and the Pinta and the Santa Maria. It was actually 18 ships. But these ships had nothing to do with what they, are telling these people are. You know what I'm saying? And, of course, the people who was coming over here were these Morisco Moors, conquistadors, who had now elected to stay and become Masons and hook up with what was going on. And they, in turn, hooked up with those African mercenaries who later became pirates of the Caribbean and set in the Age of Adventure, which was allegedly set up by Moors to get put back in power in Grenada, but eventually led to the overall destruction of the Moorish Empire as a whole. You know what I'm saying? So, regards to who or what, this is what happened, in history. However, when we perceive Templars, we, again, are always thinking of Caucasian people, acting like black people can't be Christian, or black people wasn't Christian back then. Because Christianity and Islam was not like it is right now. Religion was not like that. It was more like the way it is in terms of Republican, Democrat, and Independent. Everybody looked at it more as a clan and family affiliation over a succession of years, which is why the son usually took the name of the father, but the lineage was passed through the mother. See what I'm saying? Because whoever possessed the woman possesses the land. So when Rebecca chose to hook up with John Smith, who had just been let out of the slave pits of Saleh under Ishmael the Magnificent, you know what I'm saying? For 10 years, this dude was hell-bent on destroying more. So imagine you being a Caucasoid person, man, being locked down by this Moor and these Moors for all of these years, and knowing the Moor's been owning your family all these years, then you get free, and you go to England, and England act like they got power. Then they send you over here, and it's more Moors over here, ruling more land, shit you ain't never even seen. Of course, these people are going to try to use their position to get back in. And the way to do it was through the missionary system. The missionary position was created by the missionaries, created by the Jesuit inquisitors, when they used to come into your crib and tell you how to have sex. You know what I'm saying? To this day, we as Moorish people, we still send our kids to Catholic school. I'm not saying you're evil for sending your kid to Catholic school. I grew up in Catholic school. I'm just saying that we're all victims of the same hypocrisy that has led to not only the nationalization, but the spiritual and moral decay of the overall genetic outlook in the worldview. So, of course, that's not true on an individual basis, individual by individual basis. However, we ain't got time to get into everybody individually. What can you do to contribute to the situation at hand? What can we do to take advantage of the situation at hand? Like, there's certain places in the country, in the world, the United States don't even go. You never even hear about it in the news. And these be the people that's not messing with them. So how is it they able to keep these people away from them, but we not? And why is it if we say we should be separated, that's evil? That's going back to segregation. But at least under segregation, I could open a business, a black business that could thrive with black people. After segregation and integration, black businesses started tanking because they destroyed the old school infrastructure that we had through the destruction of Black Wall Street, through the destruction of Harlem. The whole Renaissance period was a put on. That whole shit was a psychological operation to get us to get caught up in elements of art that could be manipulated through homosexuality. And that's what happened. That's why Langston Hughes. That's why all of these dudes. It's not a coincidence that somebody like W.B. Du Bois, as eloquent and as great a man, and as eloquent a speaker and writer, could debase himself and his brother, Marcus Mosiah Garvey, by calling him a Negroid, Neolithic black ape. At a time when this man is the only man more in the world got his own shipping line, boats, taking people back to Africa. There's whole sections of the history with him that's being locked up. I'm still petitioning to get certain shit opened up on him that the FBI won't release. How is it he's able to do that when we allegedly knew less? How is it when we knew less, we had more? Now that we know more, we have less. How did it turn out like that? Who's responsible within our own selves, aside from ourselves individually? These people who's putting themselves up to be leaders, but we still letting them do it. The white man ain't telling Al Sharpton to go on all that. He used to. He ain't got to tell Al Sharpton to go on David Letterman and none of these shows no more and talk shit to maintain the society. He ain't got to do that. He ain't got to tell Whoopi Goldberg, these people. He ain't got to tell the president what to do. In a sense, these niggas is on autopilot. They doing what they supposed to do. They doing what they sold to do. So if that's what we agree has happened, then let's move on, you know what I'm saying, and not look at them or allow them the space within our, let's say, mind field that we are building to not infect it with that mentality. But to do that is to say that is exclusionary and racist and sexist. You know what I'm saying? Buckshot? You know what I'm saying? So, you know, the thing to get this dude into power was to, in a sense, use him to play out the Brzezinski model for the 19th century and turn it into a farcical war or successional wars that will ultimately lead to the deterioration of the nation-state world. So that's basically going down. However, the upside of it all is that the nation of the individual, the unification of the being, is coming more into view and allowing the falsities of the reality to fall away and only allow the truth to be filtered in. These children that's being born are being born more resilient and more physically disassociated from pain. They're growing muscles at like 1 year old. You know what I'm saying? They're pulling themselves up. There's grown people who could not do one push-up. I've seen, children young as 1.5, 2, 3, doing like at least 3. So, and when you look at them muscularly wise, they're more, especially black children, man, you know. And this is the melanin adapting, precognitively adapting the physical vessel for the fact that it might have to do something earlier. It might have to protect itself earlier. It might have to jump out the womb. Who knows? You know what I'm saying? It might have to do whatever. So let me put muscle on even early in my development, which means that there has to be a mental capacity to even equivocate that. That is there as well. But these are usually not enhanced. They're usually put on the forefront of the consciousness due to the need to dumb down the overall worldview of society itself. They can't have a truly good or gifted society. Man cannot create that. At least mankind, mankind cannot create that. Because it came into being through the destruction of civilizations. Something that comes into the being as something is being destroyed and is the descendant of the destroyer of that has a certain psychic, spiritual connection to war and death that ultimately leads to an oblivious state of suicidal nihilism in which they feel that they can't stop. There is no redemption. There is no giving nothing back. There is no, let me do right. Let me tell the people the truth. There's none of that. We're going to just ride it to the very destruction of it all. They want a world where there's nothing, where everything is just rubble. That's what they mean by when they say let's do it to the end of the world. Let's do it till the wheels fall off. Let's you know what I'm saying, parties like it's the end of the world. This is their whole theme. This is ultimately what they want. Such excess that everything is just that could be beautiful is just dissolved. It's sick, man. It's sick. So the very worldview that this guy, who they call the president, has is the worldview of a guy who was the son of like a Polish aristocrat whose family who watched his whole family get slaughtered by the Germans after they stormed into his house and took over his family lands and all that. Then this kid got sent to German labor camps, got whipped up and beat up molested and all of that, by them sick cult Nazis. But he was able to escape because he still had some money stashed, and came to America and eventually became a soldier, and then eventually became the aide to Jimmy Carter. And this dude trained a lot of people. Trained Tim Osmond, trained Saddam, trained Gaddafi, trained all of these dudes because he's obsessed with the Soviets. They're obsessed with the Russians, and they're the same people. That's the crazy thing. The Russian flag is red, white, and blue too. That's how deep they're crazy. These people are crazy. You know what I'm saying? They're literally insane, these people. You know? So again, a liberal Democrat is basically like a liberal Democrat is like an immigrant Jew politically. They can be kind of open, but they still get preyed upon by the hardliners and conservatives in their party. It's all gang. It's all primal gangs. Just because they wear suits and ties, you have to understand. Type in the search engine, Congressman rash of Congress killings in Washington. See what come up. They're killing these people like 3 a week, man. And they do that usually in the first quarter when the new graduates into the whole process come in to kind of like scare them into place. You know what I mean? So, these Masonic, Catholic, crypto, Goyim, Jewish, Satan, Zionist, corporate fanatics, you know what I mean? All being funded by the same people. Rand Corporation, Ford Foundation, Collins Trust, CIA, British Intelligence, MI5, MI6. Like I said, look for them to invade Pakistan. They already did it. They're going to use the Osama thing as a pretense, because now they need to get rid of Afghanistan because they surrounded on all sides. They don't really have no way out. So they need to build this pipeline, you know what I'm saying, ASAP. So they got to get into Pakistan and move it down so they'll hit the Indian Ocean through that other country that's right under Pakistan. But the thing is, Pakistan got a real good intelligence. Their intelligence is called the ISI. They're actually pretty good. But, they don't, and when I say good, I mean, like, they don't really fuck with us. What I feel good, when I say good, I mean, like, they don't mess with us. Like, certain groups within that whole intelligence network, the only ones that mess with us is the ones over here and the dragons in Europe. They're the only ones that really mess with us like that, yo. The other ones, the Chinese and them, they'll do it and all of that, but that's not the primary function. They'll shit on us, no doubt, but ancestrally, they have more of an ethnic thing. Like, you can go to Russia and go to the chapel in the Kremlin of the Black Madonna. Like, there's images of black people as gods and shit over there. So in these countries, regardless of whatever white supremacy they want to flip, there's still images of all of that with us over here. Over here is different. They won't let us talk the languages. You know what I'm saying? They made sure that we could be as illiterate as possible, but then still have access to all of the knowledge. That's the conundrum. Bhutto, they killed him. They killed her. They killed him, the husband. They killed the wife. The son is now in Oxford. They're going to basically tool him up and then send him back to Pakistan to be a puppet emperor or whatever, and he'll be absorbed into the people because it's like, oh, hey, this is the Bhutto's son. She's the one who came out, said Osama was dead, and, he's got to be real. You see what I'm saying? And again, because a lot of the mentality of the old world like that is to leave their country, go to Europe, understand money and finance and stuff, and then come back home and then, be rich or whatever. they still look at that as something of status, as something of something to aspire to a degree. These people would not have McDonald's and Ferraris and all that stuff over there if they didn't want it. So how you going to have a Ferrari and all this other stuff, but your shorty can't stunt with her hair out? That shit don't make no sense. How you could do all of this in the Quran, but she can't do nothing. She got to buy lingerie, order it or whatever, and then wear it in secret amongst other women so that way they can tell each other how beautiful they are, because it's easy to abuse somebody that you don't see their whole face or their body. It's easy to do that. It's easy to be like, oh, this person's not really human, this person's stupid, because you don't see them. They covered, all you see is their eyes. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's an outdated form of control that has obviously reached its course. I'm just saying, I'm not saying the women should be naked. Again, however, we live in this extremist society. It's got to be one or the other, and that's what I'm saying. That's the problem. It's a problem. We don't even know how to stop doing that amongst each other. So there were prominent original black people of merit and stature who were and are parts of the St. John's of Jerusalem, like Hannibal Petrovich, Hannibal Petrovich, Lord of Rome, the first to the Tsar, the establisher of what is the what was the Russian army of the Tsar period, Ethiopian, who was captured during the Crimean War and was presented to the Tsar as a slave, but the Tsar knew that he wasn't, and in that treated him like a son. And he grew up in court and became a great warrior, a great philosopher, a great writer, a great tactician. This is a black man in Russia. You understand? At a time when in America, black men could not ride the same car, or when the white man crossed the street, white men came down the street, they had to cross the street. At the same time. You understand? So, who is the slave, and by what means is the difference? Because the black man who was crossing the street in America was just as noble, if not more, than Abraham Petrovich Hannibal. But Abraham Petrovich Hannibal still had knowledge of himself, his culture, his God, his language, who and where he was from. There's a book called Servants of Allah that goes in on all of the so-called Muslims, Prince Rahman, Suleiman the Great. These are so-called slaves in America at a time when allegedly he was being hung 1,500 at a time or whatever. And these were so-called slaves who were articulate enough to become barbers and doctors and senators and all of this stuff at a time when allegedly it was illegal for this to happen. So what is the difference between this person who came in as a slave, realized, knew they wasn't, built on their culture, white man gave him his due, he basically couldn't go back right away, so he stayed and then built up a culture and society around himself to the point where the white man needed to marry back into his family to keep his land. There's thousands of stories like this. Millions locked away where? In the Smithsonian, in the National Archives, in the Library of Congress, in the basement of some Ku Klux Klan Masonic lodge somewhere, in the cellars of some dried out old factory that the niggas is not in no more. This is where they hide all this stuff, or in the Atlantic Ocean, or locked in a part of the Grand Canyon that nobody can get to. But we could get to them. We could do it. But it has to be as a people. But what people is that? Who's that? Yeah, black people. Okay, great. But a lot of us don't feel that we are that. And that don't mean that these people who are saying this they have their own rationale and their own argument for it that is real to them. And they're claiming to be more the same way I am. So who am I to say that they're not because I disagree with them? But that's just me. Niggas don't look at it like that. It's the opposite. So it's about getting people to conform to an opinion. That's why nothing comes from the debates and the things that happen. Nothing what comes. Have we gotten together more? Have we established, let's say, a youth center or something where people can get together and not only just build upon, what they need to do in terms of the law and all that, but an active way of life where if somebody was homeless, they could go there and sleep there. You can't do that at the National Black Theater. You got to go home. That means it don't belong to the people. That means it belongs to the white man. In the end, just like everything else, just like my crib, just like everything. Just don't mean that the people who go there work for him, but it means that in the end, he still knows what's going on in our shit. So how can we really say we're free? How can we really say we have what we have? Exactly. Building something that you can see grow. The white man can't create nothing but death and money. He got to the point in his history where he found a way to create money out of nothing. And then not only out of nothing, he has found a way to basically take over other things that don't exist, like corporations, and break them up and make more money out of nothing. So really, he doesn't even produce anything anymore. Once you cease to produce as a sentient being, you have agreed to extinction. And I'm saying that with no moral or spiritual judgment on anybody who has chosen not to have children specifically. I'm just saying that that's also what you have chosen. You have chosen that your line, your bloodline stops with you. And that's a choice that any natural sentient being can make. But know that that's also what you're saying to the universe. You know what I'm saying? So it's a real give and take thing, guys. I'm trying to convey that it's more of a. I'm learning it's more of a give and take situation, more than an absolute. Like we should get it. If those of us who think that there's gonna be a time where we're gonna get it like that, we will get it. But it's not gonna be like any of us have thought it was gonna be. It's gonna be the compounding of all of these different realities coming to existence at the same time. And that can be expressed, and a million people can be in a tsunami, but each person going to have their own experience in it. Some going to live, some going to die, some going to be wounded, some going to be maimed. Like this is part of the aspect of the reality that we created. Because there's been times in history where there hasn't been no earthquakes, there hasn't been no gastric major disasters. But we don't hear about any of those times. We don't hear about anything other than what's wrong with everything. You know what I'm saying? We don't hear nothing about what is beautiful about the planet. And when we do, it's always being told to me by somebody with money. It's somebody who's living in a 20-acre, 300-acre forest with a spa and a sauna and all of that.
Oh, did you tell them about this shit? This shit we saw? This nigga with like an $8 million room?
Yeah, they showed one of these stores. They got a show that's called like $1 Million Rooms. Yeah, Selena told me about it. It's this show called $1 Million Rooms, where they only show you one room or like two rooms of a house. They ain't even showing you the whole house. They just showing you one room that was like for $8 million. This dude tricked $8 million in this thing. You understand what I'm saying?
Stupid material shit. But the dope shit is when these niggas go way out and do the Cobb House stuff. There's this one guy, he had the ill Cobb House, and it was just like a spa, built within a spa, but it was all brick. It was beautiful, and it was worth like $6 million. I cannot even begin to tell you how beautiful the architecture was. And it was just the fact that he did like hot, cold, steam, the steam room underneath the stuff. It was next level, all natural. And I'm like, wow. And then you got Gucci Man and T-Pain and all these niggas wearing like
$8 million
all
a whip.
Cars.
on a
Maybach
Escalera.
You know how much land and money and with just a mill you could do, like if you really took it right?
Yeah, but think about it. It's a difference in world outlook.
I'm like trying to get a vineyard.
Right, but think about that.
I want to own wine. I want to create the wine.
Right, but think about that. That's you. But right, well, look at the world view. Look at how you're looking at the world.
Yeah, I hear you.
You could have $8 million worth of acreage and $8 million worth on a chain or a whip. The person who has a universal or a long-term life worldview is going to think about a million and all that. The person that thinks that they could get shot the next day is going to get an $8 million chain. He's going to get an $8 million car. He's going to get something real fleeting because he don't know when it could all go.
Yeah, absolutely right.
That's why niggas don't keep shit. And when I say niggas, I mean anybody that got the mentality that they feel that they don't deserve something, so they get it all and then blow it. That's a degenerate gambler mentality. But they want to lose. They say they want to win, but they want to lose. They want to lose because if they win, they won't feel happy because they don't feel they deserve it. They lose, they feel they could go back and feel the rush of trying to get it back. It's really deep, man, how we have how things have become, you know. Yet, as bleak as they are, you know, it's really just a matter of opinion at the same time, you know. Because there's mad black original people who don't agree with anything that we're talking about. They don't agree with any of this shit. They don't think that any of it's important. They think it's all rhetoric. They think that, you know, being within white society is better than not being in it. Or being under the control of a universal malefic intelligence is better than being under their own intelligence. And that's cool. Or God's intelligence, even better. And that's cool. I'm just saying, what are we going to do? You know what I'm saying? So, I don't know. So maybe let's find out.
What I also wanted to say is that we're very close to the goal. I wanted to thank everybody for supporting the classes on Wednesdays and just supporting us in general. We're very close to getting the book put out, and it's such a good read. It's so entertaining and simple and fun. It's 600 pages, if I haven't mentioned it before. Talk about it, I feel a lot. But just because I wanted to come out. So I wanted to, Sarah and I were talking about just different ways that we can keep connected with the people, and I wanted to let you know, based on a couple of the things we've been able to do, is just offer private services to people that have specific questions, whether it's about paperwork or filing or just history for a 16-year-old teenage son. We have a service where you can, you know, just write on metaphysical tutoring, but we also call it Power Pineal Hour. It's something funny that I just created, but Power Pineal Hour with the seer is basically calling and just asking, you know, calling our home and asking what you want to know specifically from him, and it being specific based on what you want to know, history, research, all that stuff. So just hit us up, houseofl@hotmail.com, and you can have an hour session because the seer, with most topics, will probably go in for about an hour, and set up a private webinar meeting with us, because paying for this service, it makes sense to use it as much as I can because it's paid for monthly. So I'm like, well, why don't we do private stuff instead of just having the monthly classes? We can also open it up. So that's available as well. If anyone ever has any specific questions pertaining to history or anything that they may want polished, whether it's informative or research, definitely email us and we'll get back at you. All right? So give thanks for the love, and definitely looking forward to traveling this summer with the book and other things that we can just share and hopefully become wealthier together in a way that we can create something outside of this. Because just looking at that farm today was not only just a reminder, I've gone to a couple, but just seeing how bad it was, how poorly it was executed, but the concept of it still created so much love and just generated a lot of communal, like a place where community can come together. I think that that's something that we need, but also respecting privacy and the fact that people also need their own quarters to have their own private whatever. I think that we don't give ourselves the permission to have privacy as well. So having a central place like that where we can all, whether we send our kids there for the month or whatever, however we work it out, have the money and the opportunity to do it and do it together and employ each other. That's really the purpose of this book, is to employ ourselves and each other to such a degree that we're able to create our own little pocket universe, literally, that we can co-create and exist the way that we want to see life, period. All right, y'all. Talk to you soon. Peace. That was only 2 minutes. Let's get my chance.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Basically about to be on, you know. Same way we grew up with, or I grew up with, same way I grew up with Superman, Spider-Man, all these people, all these characters with all these psychological problems. The same way they're going to grow up. We're going to create characters, and they're going to have the same totemic effect. I think it's going to be the opposite. You know what I mean? And I understand the process enough now, I think, where I understand why people like Kubrick and Lucas and these people are so important for these people. But, let's see. Okay, so we're going to get into a call. 484 on Superhero Radio.
Hey, what's up, dude?
What's up, King? How you doing, man?
What's going on? This Bishop from Philly.
Hey, what's up, brother?
Man, I ain't talked to you since, like, maybe October.
How's the family? It's October, man. How's the soldiers in Philly, homies?
Everything good, man. Everything good. Weather nice, so, you know, can't complain.
Good.
Can't complain. How you and yours doing?
Maintaining, man. Same thing.
That's
I can't
good.
complain.
That's good. I was listening when the whole Osama bin Laden thing went down, and when you was talking about it, you left one part out, the part about Megatron getting dropped into the ocean.
Yeah, that's right. Dropped in the sea.
I was trying so hard to get on that night to say that part. Like, what
right.
was that symbolic or anything?
Yes, that, and also the fact that Osama bin Laden is a Pisces, huh? He was a Pisces, so the whole idea is a legend where Osama bin Laden is a Pisces.
Right.
And being a Pisces and being dropped in the ocean was the same ritual they did to Poseidon when he disobeyed Zeus. After Zeus tried to get Persephone back.
Right.
He bound him up in chains and threw him to the bottom of the sea. But that's also, though, another allegory. And when you look at Poseidon, he got the same type of beard.
The same type of beard, yep.
Right? Only thing is made of bubbles. But then also there's the connection to Cthulhu, who is the god of the deep, of the octopus god of the deep. That's represented by the 8, that is represented by the octopus itself. He's the octopus Cthulhu was the god that was in the book 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
Right.
Anytime you see it, Cthulhu was also the god in the Lord of the Rings that
I remember that.
run into the mountain. Right? So he's the black god, or the black, when he sleeps, his slumber is allegedly the world that we are living in now. So it was another way to appease Cthulhu through the fact that he also was a Pisces, and the fact that he was a bearded Poseidon image, you know what I mean, that they had already killed, because he was already dead from 2000. Some people say 1999. I would say generously 2002.
Right. 2002, 2004 or 5, right?
Right. And they had him on ice. They cryogenically froze the nigga and then brought him out. Bring him out.
That's crazy. That's crazy right there.
But you're right about that, and that's just what they did to Megatron.
Nobody
what they did to
Megatron.
They just dropped him. Yep.
Ain't that crazy? How they just
and now,
you drop him in the deepest part of the abyss?
And now the Transformers movie is about to come out, which is The Dark Moon, which is a movie about the Dark Moon Lilith that's also symbolic of these galactic clusters that's moving closer to us and shit.
Okay.
So in that now, the moon, by the time they get to the moon, is when the whole thing goes down. There's another movie coming out called Iron Sky that these dudes that's about the Nazis who set up a base on the moon and come back to the world at 2035, which is really 2012.
Right.
To set the whole thing up. So all of this, to me, is part of the Blue Beam Project thing, where they're trying to create this alien intelligence thing with all these UFO signings and stuff to create a pseudo-alien reality. So that way when the real ones get here to knock them off, to put them in the trick bag, they'll be, we'll be fighting to save them.
Right. An illusion, basically.
Yeah, it's not going to work.
And you know what, too? A few weeks ago, probably about maybe three Mondays ago, a female called, and she was asking about the, the planes that let out the, I forgot the name of what it's called.
Chemtrails, yeah.
Chemtrails.
Chemtrails.
Right. You was about to go in on something, but then you got distracted and you lost your train of thought. You started talking about something else. You was like, you said, I know what they use for. Personally, you said personally, I got my own idea what they use for.
Yeah,
and you drifted off real quick.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I do that sometimes. I just get so many thoughts at one time. I'm trying
I was guessing. Let me know if I'm wrong. I was guessing you was going to say.
Right.
Yeah, I was guessing you was going to say something for that reason, as far as the UFO thing. They use some type of, so they can use their holograms and all that.
Yeah, they basically, that's what they sent the shuttle up. The same day they had the wedding, the same day that they go and kill this dude, the same day they have a space shuttle launch with the twin husband of the chick that got blasted in the dome.
Right.
And ritualistically, it was also Valpurgis night, which was the night of 1,000 cries, which is the night that they invoked the demons to give them the babies directly. So all of this is going down, and chemtrails are just like a masking agent. They're there to obscure the reality even further at a distance. You know what I'm saying? So when they dissipate and they start coming down, those elements that are in the chemtrails that are allegedly killing us are really actively working to inhibit aspects of us from coming online.
Wow.
Because if it was really poison, we'd all be dead.
Right.
And how could you rule over a whole society of dead people? And that's where they're conflicted. Ultimately, you have the Brotherhood of Eagles, and then you have the Brotherhood of Death. The Brotherhood of Eagles, they wanna fornicate and rape and kill, but they want to do it with like a smile. They want to still be liked.
Right.
And then the Brotherhood of Death know that ultimately that's a hypocrisy, and that ultimately they're in this thing for utter oblivion. You know what I'm saying?
That's amazing.
But there's a third way. You see what I'm saying? And that's us, which is the truth. That they are juxtaposed on either side of. So long as we're in the middle pillar, they can't be. So whoever stands in the middle pillar is targeted, but is also protected.
Okay.
And it's only open to influence based upon their lack of understanding of how the Sephiroths interplay with their own genetic code, based upon their everyday given experience and their symbolic understanding of them.
Okay. That's hot. That's hot right there. That's deep, man. That's deep, too. Boy, this is wild, man. Hey, on another note, you You get it? Did you ever get a chance to get into the this TV show that come on? I believe it's NBC called The Event.
Yeah, I did that. I did see that. The one with the black president.
Right. So you've been getting into all you've been following it.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw Fringe, Walking Dead, and Z.
All right, cool. The Event. I don't know if you saw the episode where it's this old guy, right? This old white guy. Nigga look like he walking like a mummy. Just look like he dead. He it's this board. He's like it come out like 2 weeks ago that he's like this person that's been around for centuries. He's like a guardian or whatever, the skies or whatever, right? He got this board, this particular board he got. It's like a black stone board with this ancient writing on it. And I was just curious to know what that is. Because the way the camera was showing it was showing it for basically for those that know to know, and those who don't know won't know. It was real mysterious. Right. I was just curious on that.
I would have to check it. I would have to see that episode.
Check that out. It's a real good storyline. I know you'll be able to break it down.
But any book or any issue where they show that type of stuff, it's always something that's dealing with something that pertains to us.
Right.
Sometimes it's with artifacts or old paper or old jewel, something like that. That's always us.
Okay.
Just like anytime I use that word ancient, they talk about us.
Ancient aliens. They're on the History Channel. You peeped that?
Say that again?
That's the other show, Ancient Aliens.
Yeah. I've been watching that sometimes.
Yeah, when they go in on the Dogons and the Zulu tribe and all that.
Yeah, all of those are Jesuits.
Yeah?
Yeah, all of those people Jesuits. They gotta be. That's the only way they could be talking about that stuff.
Yeah, and it's like they be twisting the truth, but they put their own spin. It's like they actually say the real, but then they just put their own spin on it.
Yeah, they gotta do it, man. They gotta put themselves somewhere, or else they're not anywhere. You know what I'm saying? If they don't put themselves somewhere, they don't exist anywhere. And that's really messed up for them. All right, well,
that's pretty much. I had to throw that one out there to you, but I listen to every week or whatever. So from now on I'm gonna call every time I get through to you, man. I'm gonna just throw like a little movie at you, see if you can break it down for me.
Okay. That'd be great, man. I look forward to it.
All right, thanks a lot, man. Appreciate the time, and keep doing your thing. And I'm listening.
Thank you, my brother. Be safe, man.
Yes, sir. Peace.
Peace. (757) Mr. Heru Radio. Peace. What's up, G?
Maintaining. How you, brother?
I'm good, man. How you?
I'm doing good. There's a few things that I wanted to ask you. I've been trying to put some stuff together, and I wanted to get your comments on some things I've been reading lately. In 2029, and then around this time leading up to 2040, they're saying that artificial intelligence is supposed to exceed the number of computations per second that the average, human brain is capable of doing. Then on another note, they're also saying around the same time, like 2033, 2036, an asteroid by the name of Apophis is supposed to be coming close, or whatever the case may be. And if I can get your comments on maybe how that celestial event may tie into, the artificial intelligence situation.
Yeah, that's a great place to go in the discussion, man, because that's relevant to what we're experiencing right now. We're experiencing the birthing, or the first pains to know that we're pregnant with this type of understanding that will reach its summation in some years to come. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yet those years are quantified and qualified based on our understanding of time. So the more we understand and allow ourselves to be ignorant also of the aspects of ourselves that we are still getting to know. There's an aspect of knowledge where you get it, and it's like you just want to just get as many books and as many things as you can, and that's a natural process of that. But if you keep that mentality for like 10 years, 40 years, that doesn't, you're locked, you become a master in that, but that also becomes 32 degrees that you're frozen at, because you can't really ascend higher than that because you dedicated yourself to understanding this part of it and only this part of it. But that's like living in one room in your house for 10 years. You know, you don't want to do that. So these astrological, So, you know, these astrological events that are happening physically right now are also in play to represent the religious texts and things that were already written about this time to correspond to as well. You know, so there is a lot of it that's natural and a lot of it that's not. The part of it that's not is being used in a higher frequency than it has been used up until that time, because it takes a certain degree of digital frequency upgrade to allow radio waves to harden the ionosphere, which subatomically is where and spiritually is where our ancestors dwell, to harden that area of space and then beam a hot, reflected aspect of that over a place where people would look at it and think it was a rainbow or an apparition of a rainbow, when really it's evidence of the electromagnetic field around the place being charged up enough that the moisture that's within the tectonic plates is sucked out, and then it causes it to crash, to start to move and cause earthquakes and stuff.
Right.
So the same way you can predict the earthquake is the same way you can predict the astrological event, you see what I'm saying, that may affect the earth to cause it. So in that, this future thing about 2029, that's also the point in time which, well, a little before, well, no, that was the date that they gave, that they become the minority, the official minority in the world, with only this much of them left. You see what I'm saying? So that xenophobic mentality means that the rest of the world will be ruled by people like us.
Right.
And all of the places that they've created to hide and go to will actually become places that we basically use as refuge to continue our way of life. It ain't really going to be about, you know, them surviving this. We're guaranteed.
Right.
Not in the physical sense of guaranteed, but in the universal sense of the fact that we understand that the Creator, or God, which has created the law of time, exists. Therefore, will always exist within.
Right.
For him or her. So the Apocalypse thing, though, that's another aspect, or the defining aspect, where the connection of allegedly the piece of the moon that was already broke from the original moon. There's allegedly the moon that's out here now is just a hollowed out asteroid satellite that houses different intelligences. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
They're not really, like, it's the only moon in the world, in the universe, that doesn't revolve. It doesn't spin. It just goes around in the same place. So either it's extremely unique, you know what I'm saying, or it's a ship, or some type of hollowed out asteroid that maybe fell into a certain orbit that they were able to use. Because they said when you send radio waves to it, the radio waves ping the same way they would ping like at the hull of a submarine. anything living would absorb it. You know what I'm saying? Even if it's rock. You know what I'm saying? Like if you scan rock, the radio wave is going to be absorbed into the rock. If you scan the moon that's already made of rock, it pings like it's made of metal. What's up with that?
Right. Something else.
Right. So this Apophis thing allegedly is the original moon that was knocked out of position to come back, which represents the Dark Moon Lilith, which is what I was talking about in the Transformers Dark Moon movie. Dark Moon Lilith, or what they call the Black Moon of Death, is also Lilith, like in your zodiac chart. It represents a lot of things, but what a lot of people don't say that it represents is the fact that it represents aspects of the matriarchal line that was involved in supernatural agreements and shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Okay. So this Apophis thing is supposed to happen based on the fact of the distance and the time that the thing's been traveling and at the speed it's been traveling to get to that point. So whatever we are at that time, I guess we'll deal with it then.
Right. You're right about that.
Yeah. But like that ain't gonna kill us. Like it ain't gonna, you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, I know. I'm not worried about that. I was just trying to put two and two together with that. One other thing, real quick, that I wanted to ask is I heard you talk about before, and Caucasians would have to integrate back into the dominant structure in order to perpetuate their existence. And, with me, that kind of raises a concern as to, well, then their way of thinking, their mentality would then be perpetuated through them, I guess, breathing back into us, and then that would cause a whole other problem within itself.
Either way it was tried. Go ahead.
Right. Another possibility that I was pondering one day was that could it actually be possible that they are able to inject their consciousness into like a mechanism, a machine, or whatever the case may be, and perpetuate their existence by that means?
Yeah, they've done that. Remember when we was growing up, they had these things called test tube babies?
Right.
Test tube babies were the first stem cell clone babies. The first clone they allegedly created at Peenemünde, Germany, in 1937. These clones, these test tube babies, back then weren't even referred to as that. They referred to as classified babies. So these things basically were the first test in seeing how they could absorb consciousness or put their consciousness in the pure state of the child and allow that consciousness to grow as the child grows, which then would give them immortality in the consciousness of this child, because eventually they could take, if they die, they could go into the child through the child's central nervous system and create and activate the altar that was allegedly put in there, and then use that altar to become the dominant personality.
Right.
So, yes, that movie with Heather Graham. What was that called? The Blessed. Right?
The Blessed.
This is them, Rosemary's Baby. This is Sharon Tate with Charlie Manson and the family and the Beach Boys. And this is Frank Sinatra and JFK and the mobster Piazza and Meyer Lansky. You know what I mean? It's all of this sexual, appetite, that's manifested in the form of power and control, which is really an outformed level of consciousness because it represents reptilian consciousness. So the same way you would stay away from a reptile if it hissed at you, it's the same way you would stay away from somebody with that type of mentality. So the time is coming where that type of mentality is now even in higher mode, because when you join that system, what happens is you cease higher brain function, and your brain is centered in the reptilian brain.
Right.
And so your soul functions from this aspect of this low centralized version. But within that reptilian brain, you can access different levels within that reptilian brain that are very high, which can appear to be powerful. But when love is injected into the situation, it all falls to pieces.
Mm-hmm.
But love is God. And if love exists, God exists. So if love exists and biochemically is the same, gives you the same biochemical feeling as eating huge amounts of chocolate, and chocolate is black, see what I'm saying? And the chocolatiers were the Moors who created the 1,000-year vats of chocolate that was aged over huge periods of time, in which the chocolate was then infused with different intonations and incantations that would allow a certain type of person to be born as the chocolate was then, made refined and given back to the people and shit.
Right.
That's why we never told them about it. That's why they're so into it now. That's why to this day, the number one chocolate in the world is the Moorish History, which is the Moorish heads that they eat out there in Switzerland. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So this is what so Apophis in another representation represents the utter, let's say, physical destruction of what is there, or what will be, or what is left from the time the witness by him. Which is even greater. If we really, you know what I'm saying? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like if we really to that point, where we're tired of this physical. So I'm not necessarily advocating suicide. I'm just saying that the level of destruction that's going to take to put this beast will be so monumentous, simultaneous, and instant, that it's going to be like it's all over in one day. And those of us that's left wouldn't know what to already do. Because by that time, we'll already reach a level where we know what we're supposed to do purpose-wise and be shown whatever we're supposed to be shown and get it.
Yeah. You're right about that. You're right about that. I appreciate that, brother, man.
Thank you, brother.
Peace.
Peace to you. Yeah, so it's pretty much over for him. Do one more call. 315? You want to radio?
Yeah, peace, King. How are you?
Peace, King. How are you?
I'm good. How you doing? How's your family?
I'm good, man. They're good.
That's good. Quick question. Do you think some storms that tore to the south, you think that was HAARP, or you think that was man-made? And they got a lot of flooding going on right now. You think that has anything to do with like the magnetic energy of the planet rising? And and real quick, could you just touch on how important it is for people to stay in the now moment and not get too far ahead in the future, get ahead of themselves?
That's very it's a good question. I think to see if Hawk was involved, you would go to this thing online called the induction meter, INDUCTION meter, and it will give you a visual readout, and type in the date or the day before, let's say a day before, the day after the actual event, and see if there's a spike in activity. If there is, that could mean that the Hawk machine was used. Yet, what they've been doing is piggybacking, because the Hawk thing doesn't really work like that. The way that they be fronting, and they get Alex Jones type people to front like this, doing it like this God. It's a machine in the end. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So, as great as it is, it's still a machine. Even if it's intelligent, it's still a machine. So, based on that, there's a limited way that they do it. So what they do is they predict astrologically or astronomically where the earthquake may occur, and then set the machine up to focus the ionosphere beam towards or over that area. And then once the actual storm starts, they basically just feed the fire, try to enhance it, or wait till the storm starts and then turn it on to make it worse. But it can't get no real worse than it already is. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because the purpose is they want to hollow out the Midwest. They want to turn all of that into forest preserve, like Yellowstone Park. They want to make all of that pristine again and move all the people out of the country or into smart cities on the coast. So the humanitarian aid is just used as a cover through Red Cross and the Red Crescent to go in these different places already demilitarized and basically make the people worse. These are the people who are giving the people in Haiti cholera and stuff like that. These are the people going in, getting the babies so they can use at the night of the wedding. Who knows how many babies they sacrificed the night that those two bastards, those two cousins got married. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
and the world is separating these people. You know what I'm saying? These people are the worst people in the world. The worst, if you can imagine the worst thing you can imagine something worse than that. That's them, and that's anybody at heart who really is trying to really be down with them like that. Like, it's not cool. They make the Illuminati shit like it seem like it's cool now, like it's accepted, like first, like yo, we could be in it, like we getting money like them, like they don't even deal with money.
Like the Jay-Z and Rick Ross song Freemason, like it's cool to be down with them.
Yeah, but you know, even though those type of things, those guys. When we talked about that in like 2003 on the Currency and Metaphysical Hip Hop tape, that was really right after the 2005, right after the whole when Black Dot put it out, what was going on with his book. I think that culture, that thing about analyzing and getting to the root of what they was doing, I don't never want it to be seen like these people really have power to really do shit. Like they could, like people hit stuff like that, but to really make power moves like that, they always got to have somebody sign on it with them. It's usually a Jew, and that Jew is usually a Jesuit. So, you know, all you got to do, one of these niggas be like, well, I'm real, I'm this, I'm that. Okay, well, who's your lawyer?
Right.
Rabinowitz? Okay. Who's your lawyer? Okay. Guggenheim? Okay. Who's your lawyer? Rabinowitz. Okay.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, all these people work for the same people.
Gotcha.
You know? But thank you for that call, brother.
Thank you, too.
Peace.
Peace.
So, thank you, everybody, being in the chat, who's been in the chat at the beginning. Thank you for everybody, Thank you for everybody who has participated with us tonight, every Moon Day night. Give thanks to the ancestors. Please, if you want to holler at us at houseofl@hotmail.com. That's HOUSEOFEL@hotmail.com. You can check out some of the things we offer at www.aseer.com. Like I said, we'll do private tutorials for those people who are interested in learning alternative ways in adapting certain modalities of information, as well as those who are interested in reorganizing what they already may know, in which they then can pursue a more in-depth form of research. by using both symbols and literature. All of that stuff, that blessings and respect to those people who lost property, may have lost their lives in the recent Alabama and tornado disasters. Whether they be real or not, they're real for the people who are going through that. So we should always give them respect and donate whatever we can. However, just look out for reputable donation places, people who are not gonna, filter it down to their own. Also, remember, most of the police that are being trained now, there's been a recent rise that's saying 65% of the average people who are becoming police officers are of minority background. If minority means Black, Latino, or Asian, and that says more of us is joining up with the bad guy. So if they expose themselves as good guys, then we should accept them. If we don't, or if they don't, then we should not. Thank you for those people who sent us information about alternative forms of getting this thing done. We're going to work to do that and make that a reality for all of us, inshallah. Thank you for those who have supported us with the book. It's definitely going to be funny. The book is called The Dark Skull 418, a super cinematic, historic, sci-fi, fantasy comic book novel that you guys will really see some of yourselves in, I think. So with that, we give respect to everybody who's doing the work for real, everybody who continues to do the work regardless to who or what, to what or who, and respect to those who are within organizations and are working to make them more inclusive to others. Respect to you, and we definitely salute you in your battle against hierarchy. So with that, we say peace, and we'll see you not this Friday, but next Monday. So if you guys want to holler at me again, holler at me at houseofl@hotmail.com, and inshallah, we'll speak to you soon. Peace.